Hello everyone and welcome to the finale of my Zelda Retrospectives. And today we are playing A Link to the Past again. And as you can see, things have changed substantially. I have basically all the items in the game. I've maxed out the heart containers. I'm basically at the end of the game. All that's left is for me to finish it, of course. So yeah. I also have the best shield. I don't have the red tunic yet, the red mail, which makes my damage like the best. But so for my final thoughts on that before I get into the sequel, A Link Between Worlds, I think it's a great game. It has some frustrations, but yeah, overall, it still holds up. So, let's get into A Link Between Worlds, the sequel to the game, sort of. Basically, this game takes place in a world very similar to A Link to the Past, in both the Hyrule and Lorule. See what they did there? Hyrule, Lorule, ha ha ha. But, for what it's worth, Link Between Worlds is probably one of my favorite Zelda games because it's very open-ended to a point. You can do the first 3 dungeons in any order after the first one, and then you can do the last 5 in any order, or last 5, 6, 7, something like that. I think it's 7. But so yeah, you can do them in any order. However, the game also ends up being a little bit easy in that regard, which is a bit disappointing. But you know, for what it's worth, I still did have some difficulties playing at points, and some of the mini games were annoying. But I feel like what they did with the game, it ended up being a little bit. I find it better than A Link to the Past in some ways, mostly because of the controls. The controls are very smooth in A Link Between Worlds, which is nice, because in this game they're very annoying. But, you know, that's not a bad thing, because it's just that this game's shown age. I wouldn't call it a perfect game. A Link Between Worlds isn't perfect either, but it's at least a little better in my eyes, despite how many similar things it does to A Link to the Past. It does have its own things to offer, which is nice. So, yeah. One mechanic that I didn't really care much for in A Link Between Worlds that also made it easy is the item renting. Now, it makes the game easy in some ways, but it also makes it a little difficult, because if you get a game over, then all your rented items get taken back by Ravio, who is the person who rents the items out to you. So, yeah, that's annoying. That happened to me several times in my playthrough, where I got a game over, he took back the items, I had to spend a lot of money to get them back. So, yeah. But, for what it's worth, it's still a really fun game. I recommend it. I would probably recommend playing A Link to the Past first, so that you can have, like, some, you know, some knowledge of the world, at least. Because a lot of the places in A Link Between Worlds are very similar to a lot of the places in this game, which is nice that they did that, because it's like, for people who played A Link to the Past, they already know the map a little bit, but it still has some surprises for them. So, at least that's the way I see it. So, I don't really have much else to say about A Link Between Worlds. It's just another 2D Zelda game. Probably one of the better 2D Zelda games. I would probably play it over Zelda 1 and 2 any day. Actually, no, scratch that. I would play it over Zelda 1 and 2 any day. It was a great game. One of my favorite 3DS games, I would say. So, this is going to end up being like a 10-minute video, because I don't have much to say about A Link Between Worlds. So, yeah, for those of you who thought this would be a 20-minute video like the last couple have been, nope. Because, you know, the 2D Zelda games, they aren't as big of a scale, or they aren't as big on a scale like the 3D ones are. At least for me. You know, that's not to say that they're bad, it's just that they're not, like, on the same scale. But anyways, I'm going to spend the last few minutes talking about Triforce Heroes, the somewhat sequel to A Link Between Worlds that has some things in common. Like, it has the same Link, however, it's another multiplayer Zelda game. Now, I've only gotten to play the demo of that game, and I did think it was okay. However, the issue is that if you don't have friends that have the game, or you know, anybody to play with online, then it lacks. Like, I only really got to play a demo, like I said before, and you could only play online at certain times during the day, and it was only like a 3-day demo. Nowadays you can get the demo, but I think that you can only play the single player. I haven't gotten it to know, because I didn't really care much for the game, but it kind of shows the issues with a multiplayer Zelda game. There were a lot of memes that were made that were like, "Rip Purple Link," because in Four Swords Adventures they had a red, blue, green, and purple Link, while in Triforce Heroes it's just red, blue, and green, which makes a lot of sense in my opinion, because, you know, those are the colors that you get in the Zelda games that represent power, wisdom, and courage. Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of how the default look for a Link is in Breath of the Wild, because he looks better in green. And there's a reason for that, because green is courage, and he's courage. Not Courage the Cowardly Dog, but courage on the Triforce. That's why, whenever I beat my Zelda games, I always have the green tunic, the Master Sword, and the Hylian Shield equipped. You know, if I can, if that's applicable. Sometimes it's not. Like in this game, because the Hylian Shield was not a thing until, I believe, Ocarina of Time. Yeah, that's true. But, Triforce Heroes, I've heard it was not very good. Surprisingly enough, Aonuma says that's like his most underrated Zelda game, because he thought it was a really fun game. And, I guess I can see that. One thing that it did add that was really nice is that, you could customize outfits for Link to wear, which is a really cool mechanic, I guess. You know, that's something that they're doing in Breath of the Wild. You can customize the clothing for Link to wear, and it has different effects, which is really cool. It's just that whenever you focus on the multiplayer of the game, it takes away from the single player, and I've heard the single player is awful in that game, so I doubt that I'd want to revisit it anytime soon. But yeah, for what it's worth, we got a decent 2D Zelda game right here, Link to the Past, and then we have a decent sequel, actually a really good sequel, A Link Between Worlds, and finally we have a somewhat mediocre final entry, if they're like connecting these games together, because really the only connection that Triforce Heroes has to A Link Between Worlds is that it's the same Link. Also, the story sucks in Triforce Heroes from what I've heard. It's really stupid, but, you know, they were having fun with it, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and end this off, because I'm going to go ahead and end the game very soon. And, yeah. I hope you all had fun with this series, and I hope you all look forward to the first 30 minutes of Breath of the Wild being uploaded on March 3rd, provided I can, because I know I'm going to be getting the game, but I don't know if I'll be able to upload it. So I'll see you guys next time.